Stevie Wonder is saying goodbye. That's the sentence nobody expected to hear. Not now. Not like this. For decades, his voice has been everywhere. On the radio, at weddings, at protests, in quiet moments when people needed something real to hold on to. His music didn't just entertain. It stayed with people. It became part of their lives. And then, suddenly, everything slowed down. There were whispers at first. Small ones. The kind people don't take seriously. Fewer appearances. Fewer performances. Long gaps of silence where there used to be music. Fans noticed, but no one wanted to say it out loud. Then came the message. In that message, he made something clear. He's stepping away. People were shocked. Confused. Some didn't believe it. Others tried to find a different explanation. Maybe it was temporary. Maybe he'd change his mind. But the truth is, this wasn't a sudden decision. This had been building for a long time. To understand why Stevie Wonder is saying goodbye at 75, you have to go all the way back to the beginning. Back to a time before the fame, before the awards, before the world knew his name. Back to a small child who couldn't see the world, but somehow learned to hear it better than anyone else. He was born on May 13, 1950, in Saginaw, Michigan. His name wasn't Stevie Wonder. Not yet. It was Stevland Hardaway Judkins. He came into the world too early. A premature baby, small and fragile, placed into an incubator to survive. At the time, doctors used high levels of oxygen for premature infants. It was meant to help. But in his case, it caused permanent damage. A condition called retinopathy of prematurity. That's what took his sight. He would never see the faces of the people around him. Never see the sky, or the streets, or the crowds that would one day scream his name. But even as a baby, there were signs that something else was there. Something different. His mother, Lula Mae Hardaway, was raising her children in a tough situation. Money was tight. Life wasn't easy. Eventually, the family moved to Detroit, searching for something better. Detroit in the 1950s and 60s wasn't a gentle place. It was loud, busy, full of movement. For most people, it was overwhelming. For him, it was something else entirely. Because when you can't see, you start to listen. And he listened to everything. The sounds of cars passing by. Conversations drifting through open windows. The rhythm of footsteps on sidewalks. Music playing from radios in nearby homes. It all mattered. By the time he was a small child, he was already drawn to sound in a way that felt natural. Almost automatic. He started playing instruments early. First the harmonica, then the piano, then the drums. No one had to force him. No one had to push him. He just did it. He would sit for hours, figuring things out on his own, feeling the keys, learning patterns, understanding music without needing anyone to explain it. People around him started to notice. This wasn't normal. A blind child, growing up in a struggling household, somehow picking up instruments and playing them like he had been doing it his whole life. There was no big plan at that point. No one was thinking about fame or careers. It was just a kid and his music. But that was about to change. Because in Detroit, at that time, there was one place where music could take you out of everything. One place that could turn talent into something the whole world could hear. And somehow, against all odds, that small boy found his way there. In the early 1960s, Detroit had a sound. And that sound came from one place: Motown Records. Motown wasn't just a record label. It was a machine. It discovered talent, shaped it, and sent it out into the world. If you made it there, everything could change. And one day, a young boy walked into that world. He wasn't like the others. He was small, blind, quiet at first. But when he started playing, everything shifted. That boy was Stevland. He was introduced to people inside Motown, including the man who built the whole thing, Berry Gordy. At first, it wasn't obvious what would happen. Child performers came and went. Some had talent, but not enough to last. Then he started singing. Then he picked up instruments. Then he showed them something they couldn't ignore. He wasn't just talented. He was different. Berry Gordy saw it. Others saw it too. There was something raw, something real that didn't need much shaping. So they made a decision. They signed him. That's when Stevland Hardaway Judkins became Little Stevie Wonder. He was just 11 years old. From that point on, his life wasn't normal anymore. He was recording songs, performing, traveling, living inside a world most kids never even imagine. And it worked. In 1963, he released Fingertips. It wasn't just a hit. It exploded. The song went to #1. A live recording. A kid, playing harmonica, full of energy, completely in control of the moment. People couldn't believe it. A child leading the charts. But behind that success, there was pressure building. Because being a wonder comes with expectations. People expect you to keep amazing them, over and over again. And as he got older, that label, Little Stevie Wonder, started to feel smaller. Too small. He didn't want to just be the talented kid anymore. He wanted control. He wanted to grow. And that's where things started to get complicated. Because growing up inside the music industry isn't easy. Especially when the world already thinks it knows who you are. And the next part of his story would prove that he was never just a child star. Not even close. By the late 1960s, the name Little Stevie Wonder didn't feel right anymore. He wasn't a little kid. He wasn't just the boy who played harmonica and made people smile. He was growing up, and he knew it. The problem was, the industry didn't want to see that. At Motown Records, things were structured, controlled. Artists recorded what they were given. Songs were written by teams. Decisions came from the top. That system worked for a lot of people, but not for him. Stevie Wonder wanted more. He wanted to write his own music, produce it, shape the sound the way he heard it in his head. At first, that didn't go over well. There were doubts, quiet conversations behind closed doors, people wondering if he could really handle that kind of control. After all, he had been guided his entire career. But they were underestimating him. In 1971, everything changed. His contract with Motown came to an end when he turned 21. For the first time, he had leverage. Real leverage. He could walk away if he wanted to. And he almost did. Instead, he made a bold move. He renegotiated. This time, the deal looked different. He got creative control. Not partial control. Not shared control. Full control. That was rare back then. Almost unheard of. Especially for someone who started as a child artist. And once he had it, he didn't waste time. The music changed immediately. It became more personal, more layered, more experimental. He started using synthesizers in ways people hadn't really heard before. He wasn't chasing hits anymore. He was creating something deeper. Albums like Music of My Mind and Talking Book showed the shift. Then came Inner Visions. That's when people stopped seeing him as a former child star. They started seeing him as an artist. A serious one. The kind who doesn't just follow trends, but sets them. The 1970s became something else entirely. For Stevie Wonder, it wasn't just success. It was dominance. One album after another, he kept raising the bar. Talking Book, Inner Visions, Fulfilling This First Finale, Songs in the Key of Life. These weren't just popular records. They were defining moments in music. Songs like Superstition, Higher Ground, Isn't She Lovely, and Sir Duke weren't just hits. They became part of everyday life. People didn't just listen to them, they lived with them. What made it different was how complete everything felt. He wasn't just singing. He was writing, producing, arranging, playing multiple instruments, building songs from the ground up. And the sound, it stood out. Funk, soul, pop, jazz, all blended together in a way that felt natural. Not forced, not calculated. It was him. Awards followed. Grammys, recognition, respect from every corner of the industry. Other artists looked at what he was doing and realized the rules were changing. He wasn't just part of the system anymore. He had moved beyond it. But fame at that level comes with a cost. Because when everything is working, when every release is bigger than the last, There's an expectation that it will never stop, that you'll always be that version of yourself, always at the top. And quietly, behind all of that success, things were starting to shift. From the outside, it looked perfect. Hit records, sold-out shows, a career most people could only dream about. But that's not the full picture. Behind the music, Stevie Wonder was dealing with things people didn't always see. The pressure alone was constant. When you reach that level, every move matters. Every song is compared to the last one. Every album has to prove something. That kind of pressure doesn't just disappear when the music stops. It follows you. There were also personal struggles. Relationships that didn't last. Moments of emotional weight that never made headlines. The kind of things that build slowly over time. And then there was his health. 4 years, there were quiet concerns. Nothing fully public, nothing clearly explained. But people close to him noticed changes. Fatigue. The need to slow down. The kind of signs that don't make big news, but don't go away either. He didn't talk about it much. He kept going, kept performing, kept showing up, kept being the person people expected him to be. But carrying all of that for decades, it adds up. It always does. And while fans were still celebrating the music, still holding on to the image they had always known, something deeper was happening. Something that would eventually lead to a moment where continuing the same way just wasn't possible anymore. In 1973, right in the middle of his rise, everything almost ended. Stevie Wonder was on the road, moving between shows, doing what he had been doing non-stop for years. Long hours, constant travel, very little rest. It felt normal at the time, until it didn't. One night, while riding in a car in North Carolina, something went wrong. The vehicle crashed into the back of a truck. The impact was serious, violent enough to change everything in seconds. He was badly injured. There was a head injury, heavy damage. He was pulled from the wreck and rushed to the hospital. At that point, no one really knew how bad it was. Then came the part that shook everyone. He fell into a coma. 4 days, there was silence. No updates that made people feel better. No clear answers. Just waiting. Fans were worried. People inside the industry were worried. The same question kept coming up again and again. Would he survive? It wasn't just about music anymore. It was about life. At one point, a nurse reportedly tried something simple. She spoke to him. She sang to him. Tried to reach him in the only way that made sense, through sound. And slowly, something changed. He started responding. Small signs at first, then more. Eventually, he woke up. But waking up didn't mean everything was fine. Recovery took time. There were lingering effects. Pain that didn't just disappear overnight. For someone whose life depended on creativity, focus, and control, that kind of moment leaves a mark. And it did. After the accident, something in him shifted. The music that came after felt deeper, more aware. Like he had seen how close everything can come to ending, and decided to say more while he still could. Because when you come that close to losing everything, you don't look at life the same way again. You just don't. As the years went on, Stevie Wonder wasn't just making music. He was using it to say things that mattered, using it to push for change. At a time when a lot of artists stayed away from politics or social issues, he stepped into it. Not loudly at first, but consistently. One of the biggest examples came with his efforts to honor Martin Luther King Jr. He believed there should be a national holiday recognizing him, not just as a symbol, but as a reminder of what he stood for. So he got involved. He didn't just talk about it in interviews. He pushed for it, organized, spoke publicly, used his platform in a way that went beyond music. He even released the song Happy Birthday, not just as a celebration, but as part of that movement. At the time, it wasn't guaranteed that anything would change. But he kept going, year after year. And eventually, it worked. Martin Luther King Jr. Day became a national holiday in the United States. That wasn't just a political win. It showed something important about who he had become. He wasn't just an artist anymore. He was someone who understood the weight of his voice, and chose to use it for something bigger. That mindset carried into everything else he did. Charity work, advocacy, speaking up when it mattered. But while he was giving so much outwardly, time was still moving forward. And quietly, things were changing again. In recent years, something felt different. Not in a loud, obvious way, but in small details. Stevie Wonder started appearing less often. Fewer performances. Longer gaps between public moments. At first, people didn't think much of it. After all, he had been working for decades. Slowing down made sense. But then the gaps got longer. Interviews became rare. Live shows weren't as frequent. When he did appear, there was a different energy. Still warm. Still present. But not quite the same. Fans started asking questions. Nothing dramatic. Just quiet curiosity. Was he okay? There were also reports, never fully detailed, never fully confirmed, about health concerns. Conversations happening behind the scenes. Close friends noticing that he wasn't moving the same way, wasn't keeping the same pace. He didn't address it directly. He never really did. Instead, he kept things private, focused on family, on personal time, on things that didn't involve being constantly in the spotlight. For someone who had spent most of his life in front of people, that shift stood out. Because it wasn't just rest. It felt like preparation. Like someone slowly stepping back before making a bigger move. And eventually, that moment came. The message. The one that made everything clear. When the message finally came, it didn't arrive with a big announcement or a major press event. It was simple, personal, almost quiet. Stevie Wonder recorded it in his own voice. The same voice people had been listening to for over 60 years. There was no background noise, no music trying to shape the emotion. Just him, and what he had to say. He spoke slowly, carefully, like every word mattered. He thanked his fans first, not in a rushed way, not like something he had said 100 times before. This felt different, more direct, like he was talking to people one by one. He talked about the journey, the years, the music, the moments that stayed with him. Then he said something that made everything stop. He said it was time. Not time for a break. Not time for a pause. Time to step away. There was no confusion in how he said it. No space to misinterpret. He made it clear that this decision wasn't something he just came up with overnight. He had been thinking about it, sitting with it, for a long time. He didn't go into every detail. He didn't explain everything in a way that answered every question. But his tone said enough. There was emotion in it. Not overwhelming. Not dramatic. Just real. At one point, his voice slowed down even more. Like he was choosing his words with extra care. He talked about peace. About wanting to live the rest of his life differently. Away from the constant demands, the pressure, the expectations that had followed him since he was a child. He didn't sound afraid. He didn't sound uncertain. If anything, he sounded settled. And that's what made it harder for people to accept. Because when someone sounds that sure, you know they're not going to change their mind. Fans reacted immediately. Social media filled with messages, clips of his songs, old performances, people sharing what his music meant to them. Some were in disbelief, others were emotional. A lot of people just didn't want it to be real. Because for many, Stevie Wonder wasn't just an artist you listened to. He was someone who had always been there. And now, for the first time, he was saying he wouldn't be there in the same way anymore. So why now? Why at 75? Why after everything he built, everything he created, everything he could still do? The answer isn't just one thing. It never is. For Stevie Wonder, this decision came from years of quiet changes that people on the outside only saw pieces of. Health played a role. Not in a way that was fully explained to the public, but enough that it couldn't be ignored anymore. Decades of work, constant travel, late nights, and pressure, those things leave marks. Even if you don't talk about them. There's also the reality of time. He started as a child. He gave his entire life to music. Not part of it. Not a phase. His whole life. And at some point, continuing the same way stops making sense. There were also personal reasons. Family. Private moments. Things that don't get shared in interviews or headlines. The kind of things that make someone step back and ask a simple question. What do I want the rest of my life to look like? For him, the answer wasn't more tours, more albums, more years of doing the same thing over and over again. It was something quieter, something different. And maybe the hardest truth for people to accept is this: he doesn't owe anyone more. Not after everything he's already given. That's the part that hurts for fans. Because even though this decision makes sense when you look at it closely, it still feels like losing something. A voice that's always been there. A presence that felt permanent. But nothing stays the same forever. And in his own way, he made sure to leave things clearly. Not with confusion. Not with rumors. With his own voice. Saying goodbye on his terms. And for the first time in his life, stepping away from the spotlight that followed him since he was just a boy in Detroit. Listening to the world before the world ever listened to him.